Alright, so we're going to do a couple from each section, and then tomorrow we'll finish whatever we don't get done today. So, looking at the first part, we need to factor completely. We're going to do 2 and 4. So I'll probably just go down the right side of the page and just do all of those, and then we'll save like the left side for tomorrow. So here, do we have two factors of negative 20 that add to 8? $10 and negative 2. Perfect. So we put those into our parentheses, x plus 10 and x minus 2. For this section, all we have to do is factor, so we're done. You don't even have to solve. That's it. This is our answer. Alright, for the next one. What are two factors of 6 that add to negative 7? For number 4. Negative 6 and negative 1. So what would we put into our parentheses? Yeah, if you put m or x, it doesn't matter. M minus 6 and m minus 1. And then that's it. So first section, not too bad. Now moving on to the next part. Factor completely using a greatest common factor. So when it tells us to use a greatest common factor, that's a hint that we're going to have to pull out something. Need to take out our biggest factor we can. So what can we take out of number 7?
3 squared.
Awesome. We can take out a 3 from everything, and then we can also take out v squared. So 3v squared goes out front. What are we left with when we take out 3v squared? So v squared, and then what's 24 divided by 3? 8v, perfect. And then 45 divided by 3? 45 divided by 3. 15. 15. Alright, so now we just have to factor a little bit more. What are two factors of 15 that add to negative 8?
Negative 3 and negative 5.
Negative 3 and negative 5. Perfect. So in our parentheses, we're going to put v minus 3 and v minus 5. Let me start.
Why did we turn the top?
So we divided out 3 from everything, so the 3's cancel out here. And then we have 4 v's on top, and we're taking 2 away. So if we have 4 and we take 2 away, then we're only left with 2 v's here.
Okay.
Good question. So this is our final answer. And just remember, whatever you take out, whatever you divide from all of them, it just stays out front the whole time. Just leave it out front. You don't have to factor it. It's already one of our factors. Alright, number 9. What can we take out here?
Three.
3. Can we take out any b's? Yep, we can take out a b from everything. They all have at least one b, so we can take it out. So we're taking out 3b. So the 3's cancel out here. If we start with 3 b's and take 1 away, how many are we left with? 2 b's. So we have b squared plus, what's 12 divided by 3? 4. And then we have 2 b's, we're taking 1 away, so then we're just left with 1 b there, so we have 4b in the middle. And then what is 15 divided by 3? 5. and then the b's cancel. Alright, so now we just need to factor a little bit more. What are two factors of -5 that add to 4?
5 times 1.
5 times 1. Which one's negative? Because we have a -5 here, so one of them has to be negative.
5.
The 1 has to be negative because this would be 5 minus 1, which would give us 4. If the 5 was negative, we would have -5 plus 1, which that would be -4. But we're looking for a +4. So it has to be the 1 that's negative. So then our parentheses, what do we plug in? What do we put in our parentheses? B plus 5 and B minus 1. So this is our answer. Any questions on this one? Or any questions on this section? So just be careful when you read the instructions. The instructions for the questions on the test are going to be the same as the ones here. So if it says factor each completely using a greatest common factor, that's a hint that you're going to have to take something out. The instructions are like little hints for you. So we have to factor completely when A does not equal 1. So when A does not equal 1, this is a hint that we have to multiply the first times the last. So we have to multiply the first number times the last. This one's a little bit tricky, which I didn't notice until now, that they all have 2 variables. For these, you can just ignore like the second one, so we can just ignore the n and the n squared. And just focus on what we've been doing. So multiply the 5 times -5 first. So what's 5 times -5?
-25.
-25. What are two factors of -25 that add to 24?
25 and negative.
25 and -1. Perfect. So in our parentheses, we put m minus 20 plus 25, because the 25 is positive, and m minus 1. And then since we started with a number that was not 1, we have to make sure we divide by that number. So we're dividing both of these by that number. So what's 25 divided by 5?
5.
5. What do we do when it doesn't divide? So we can't divide 1 by 5. Where do we put it?
Leave it as is.
What do we do with the 5? Awesome. We move it in front of the m, so it becomes 5m minus 1. So if we had the ends in our question, which you're not going to have any questions like this on the test where you have 2 variables in it, but it would just be like the ends stay there behind it. But again, we don't have to worry about that. We can just ignore them for these. All right, let's look at 14. So again, we're going to ignore the ends. We can just pretend they're not there. What do we do when we start with a number that's not 1 and we can't take anything out? What do we do first? What do we do first in the last one? multiply the first and the last. So what's 5 times 6? 5 times 6? 30. What are two factors of 30 that add to negative 17? 15 and 2. They both have to be negative because we're looking for negative 17. So in our parentheses, what do we put? M minus 15 and M minus 2. But we started with a number that was not 1, so what do we have to do with that 5? Divide both of our numbers by 5. If it simplifies, we simplify. So it's 15 divided by 5? 3. So we have M minus 3. What do we do if it doesn't simplify? Put it in the front. So 5M minus 2. Again, if we had ends in this question, we would just put the ends there at the end. But you're not going to have one like this on the test. We're just going to ignore the ends for now. For this next part, we're factoring each perfect squares. So again, it's going to hint that we're factoring perfect squares. So that means we have to find what our A and our B are. So we're going to find A is equal to and B is equal to. So we have perfect square and perfect square. So A squared is 4x squared. So what is our A? Awesome, 2x. And then if B squared is 9, what's our B? 3. So then we put this into our parentheses squared. So we just put our A plus B. Oops. But since we have minus here, we need minus in our answer. So it's actually A minus B. So again, when it tells you factor perfect squares, that tells you you're just going to have one parentheses, squared. And you have to find your A and your B. What about 19? We have a perfect square and a perfect square. So A squared is equal to x squared. What's our A equal to? X. And then B squared is equal to 25. What's our B equal to?
5.
Perfect. So what do we put as our answer? X minus, perfect, because we have minus there, so minus 5 squared. Can't forget that squared up top. Alright, next section. Factor each difference of two squares. So 2 squares tells us we have 2 parentheses. And again, since they're squares, we have A equals and B equals. So if A squared is 4V squared, what is our A equal to?
2B.
2V. Awesome. And B squared is equal to 1, so what's our B equal to?
1.
1. So then we have A plus B and A minus B. So 2V plus 1, 2V minus 1. That's our answer. Any questions here? Alright, 23. We have k squared minus 16. So a squared is equal to k squared. What's our a? What's our a?
2v.
For 23.
I mean 1. I mean 1k.
Just k. And then b squared is equal to 16. So what's our b?
4.
4. So then in our parentheses, what do we put?
K plus 4 and K minus 4.
Awesome. K plus 4 and k minus 4.
4.
Good job, guys. So again, in the directions, if it says difference of 2 squares, we have 2 sets of parentheses. And last part, we are solving by factoring. So let's look at 25. What should we do first here?
Add 4b.
Add 4b. So remember, we always want it to be equal to 0 when solving. So we're going to add 4b. And we need to subtract 30. So 4b gets combined with the negative 3b. So we have b squared. What's negative 3 plus 4? 1. So plus 1b minus 30 equals 0. What are 2 factors of negative 30 that add to 1?
Wait, where'd you get the negative 30?
We had to subtract the 30 to move it to the other side. Because it was on the right side of our equation, but we moved everything else to the left side.
But wouldn't that just make it wrong?
So we had to subtract 30 from both sides.
Oh,
So what are my 2 factors of 30, negative 30 that add to 1?
that's the what,
1.
one?
30 and 1. That's not going to add to 1. So what else? What are other factors of 30? 15 and 2 doesn't add. 6 and 5. Which one's negative? The 5, because it has to add to a positive one. So perfect, that works. So we have 6, and negative 5. So we put those into our parentheses. B minus plus 6, because 6 is positive, times B minus 5 is equal to 0. What do we do from here?
Separate.
Separate them. So b plus 6 is equal to 0. And b minus 5 is equal to 0. Now we solve. So in the first equation, we just subtract 6 on both sides. So x is equal to what? Negative 6. And the second one, we add 5 to both sides. So b is equal to positive 5. So these are our 2 answers. Any questions on this one? All right, let's go to 27. What should we do first here?
Subtract 2.
Perfect. Subtract 2. Got to move everything to one side. Got to combine it with its like term. So we have negative 40 minus 2. What's negative 40 minus 2?
Negative 42.
Negative 42. Thank you. What are two factors of negative 42 that add to 1?
7 and negative 6.
7 and negative 6. Perfect. So we have m plus 7 times m minus 6. What do we do next? Split them up. So m plus 7 is equal to 0. M minus 6 is equal to 0. How do I solve for m in my left equation? M plus 7 is equal to 0. Subtract 7. So I get m is equal to negative 7. And what about my second equation? Add 6. So m is equal to 6. These are my two answers. Any questions on this one? Alright, next one. What do I have to do first?
Subtract m.
Subtract m. What else?
Add 2.
Add 2. Can I combine m squared minus m? No, they are not like terms, cannot combine them. So I have m squared minus m, but I can combine negative 44 plus 2. So what's negative 44 plus 2?
Negative 42.
Negative 42. What are two factors of negative 42 that add to negative 1?
Negative 6 and 7.
So if we have negative 6 and 7, negative 6 plus 7 would be positive 1. So which one do you think has to be negative? The 7. So negative 7 and 6. So we have m minus 7 times m plus 6 is equal to 0. What do we do next?
I have a question.
Yes.
If the next step is gonna be us turning it into like m equals positive 7 and m equals negative 6, do we have to do that step that we're doing right now, or can we just write the answer?
I want to see your steps, but if you can go from here to here, that's fine. But I want to see all of these steps. I want to see you moving it, this part, and this part. So these are the key steps. You don't have to split them and then show your adding, because I know you guys know how to solve here. But just be careful that you don't skip too much and make a silly mistake.
Okay.
But if you want to just go from here to here, that's totally fine. Alright, good job. M is equal to 7, M is equal to negative 6. Last one, 31. What do we do?
Will you just plus x?
Add x. So we have x squared plus x minus 12. Make sure you keep it in that order where you have your squared, then your x, then your number. What are two factors of negative 12 that add to 1?
Positive 4 and negative 3.
Positive 4 and negative 3. Perfect. So x plus 4 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Split them up. X plus 4 is equal to 0. X minus 3 is equal to 0. What do we get for x?
Negative 4.
And?
Negative 3. I mean, regular 3.
Positive 3, yes.
Yeah.
Alright, any questions from the review? Any questions about your test? Remember, your test is Friday, so we're going to do all the problems we didn't do today tomorrow.